So we are reading Zero Limits by Joe Vitale and Dr. Hugh Lin. We are on page 104 of chapter 8 of the book and 104 of the PDF.
Before learning about and applying the method, I was experiencing struggle in many areas of my life. A husband who didn't believe in me and my ability to build a thriving practice, a practice that was far from successful, and a feeling that I was all alone in pursuit of bigger dreams and goals. During the weekend with Joe, when I learned the method, I met a young woman who had similar interests and goals, and we agreed to do a business venture together. That venture was extremely successful and took my practice from limping to thriving in just 2 months. We are working on our next project. I feel as if we've been close friends for years and not months. The best and most significant change is that even before my business took off, the relationship with my husband changed in just a few weeks. I had been using the method whenever I experienced discomfort and my relationship, and suddenly my husband was rereading my ebooks, asking me questions, and sharing his own experiences. He took on more responsibility at work and has a renewed sense of pride and love for himself, which has a sizzling impact on our relationship.
So the point here is that if you create a shift in yourself, that is exactly what we were talking about just before, rather than, attempting to look after the world and change the world, the more we work on ourselves, the more clarity we bring within ourselves, the more equanimous we become, the more centered we become, then everything around us also starts to become centered. At the end of the day, we are all creating our own reality. So if we become centered, automatically the reality around us becomes centered. Manisha, you're constantly unmuting. Please keep yourself muted. Yeah.
I have an unwavering trust and confidence in myself and what unfolds before me, all the while just doing a simple method in minutes a day. Thank you.
So
Carrie
again,
Payne.
most of these processes and methods are very, very simple. At times, what used to happen in the past was that people made it complicated so that they could own it. If you see the Reball, if you see all the tools that we are talking about in HeartMath, we are talking about in Monroe stuff, we've done all the books that we've read, we've got something from everything, right? The more you apply it, the better your trust in the process becomes. And the point is that, again, you have knowledge, but when you experience it, it becomes real for you. So the more you use it, the better it will start working for you.
Ho'oponopono goes back through time. I am an animal lover, a huge one. I don't care or worry only about my own. I love them all. Years ago, a friend of mine turned me on to the animal rescue site at www.theanimalrescuesite.com. You can fund food for animals in sanctuaries by going to this site and clicking on the Feed an Animal in Need button. Every click provides 6 bowls of food to the hungry. A click per day is all it takes to make a difference. I've been visiting this site for the past 5 years every day without fail. One Saturday morning, I was cleaning out my emails and feeling good about doing my part in the world, feeding the animals in need. I happened to notice a picture listed by one of the site's sponsors. What I saw was an animal in a cage trying to eat its way through the bars. It looked so sickly and gaunt that not even all that beautiful fluffy fur could mask its pain. In fact, it looked so terribly tortured that I couldn't even make out what kind of animal it was. Was it a bear? A raccoon? I honestly couldn't tell. Truthfully, I didn't want to look closer. My fear told me that I would only be reminding myself how much pain exists in the world, and that there was very little I could do about it. Still, I know better than to look the other way just so that I can feel better. I felt this overwhelming need to tune in. I could hear the animal calling to me, asking me to wake up and pay attention. As I looked closer, to my horror, I discovered that what I was seeing were captured bears held in their cages for tens of years on end. The bear lives in cages little bigger than themselves for ease of milking. Bile is extracted through a cut made in the bear's abdomen and into the gallbladder, where bile is stored after being secreted by the liver via the hepatic duct. The tube is inserted into this opening to tap the bile, or a steel stick is forced into the gallbladder, with, with the bile then running down it into a basin. Between 10 to 20 ml of bile is tapped from each bear twice daily. The WSPA, World Society for the Protection of Animals, reports that during milking, investigators saw bears moaning, banging their heads against their cages, and chewing their own paws. The mortality rate is between 50 and 60%. When the bear stops producing bile after a few years, they are moved to another cage where they are either left to starve to death or are killed for their paws and gallbladders. Bears' paws are considered a delicacy. There's someone annotating. I felt completely sick to my stomach and had a knee jerk reaction to unleash my anger towards these ignorant poachers. I took all the discipline I had to remind myself that shame and blame never change a person, and that thankfully, thanks to Dr. Joe and Dr. Hewlin, I now had something much better in my bag of tricks that I could apply. Ho'oponopono. I began to recite the phrases, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. As I repeated the mantra over and over and over again, I visualized the bear farmers' hearts being filled with love, understanding, and compassion. I saw them having their own light bulb moment as my information passed through them and they got in touch with their own awareness. With their level of conscious being raised and no one to blame for the blood on their hands but themselves, I imagined them falling to their knees in complete agony, begging and pleading with God and the bears to grant them mercy and forgiveness for the torture and suffering they've caused these beautiful creatures. Then I saw them releasing all the bears and providing them with the medicine, care, and healing that they were in dire need of, and finally setting them free again. Many of you don't know, as I didn't know, that bear bile has been used for centuries. Today it is used in wine, shampoo, and medicine. The enormous weight behind this tragedy didn't solely involve healing the present moment. My clearing work occupied going back through time, through the ages. There was hundreds of years worth of pain here to heal. This experience consumed me. For hours that day, I couldn't focus on anything else and kept repeating, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. The heaviness of this global pain was inescapable and undeniable. I was consumed with anguish and I was grieving. It was as if I was the one who captured those bears and held the key to their prison myself.
So what is happening here, right? So she's totally engaging that feeling in her and she's cleaning the feeling. Now, here she says a very important thing, that my cleaning work occupied going back through time, through the ages. There was hundreds of years worth of pain here to heal. So now what happens is that we are in the present moment, right? But if we transport ourselves to the past and heal things over here, this will also heal, right? So now when you see like how does a reball work? Now people are posting in the reball in the group, in the healing group, asking for healing. Now, as soon as you see it, you become responsible. So you heal it at the time that you see it. Now, maybe if you roll down the chat, the person has already said the issue is sorted out and the healing has already taken place. But you do not know that the healing has taken place. So if you heal at the time you see it, it is as if you are healing it when the time that he posted it. So if you take yourself back in time and heal the thing over there, or change the scenario of what you're looking at, it will change the scenario over here. Now, this is a very interesting process which is there, that something which is not congenial to everyone's growth is happening, and you are not happy with the way that you have reacted or you have responded to a particular situation. So what you can do is you go back to where the issue took place. Let's say you got really annoyed at someone and you got really mad at someone at a particular time, right? You go before that incident. So go rewind yourself to before the incident and then lead up to that incident, creating the scenario that you would like, that should have manifested, or the way that you would have actually acted considering the information you have now today, right? And change the scenario in your conscious awareness. So what you are effectively doing is you are erasing the memory of what had happened previously, the way that it had actually manifested, and recreating whatever is happening. And it actually works. You all can actually try this technique. It actually works, right? So many times, we feel guilty about the way that we've acted. So you can use this technique to go back and clear the entire field till the present. Yes, Renuji?
Bhaiya, one is thank you for, about clarifying that about the reball. That's something I used to think about. But can you just re-explain this about going back to before the incident has taken, and what do you do at that point? I missed that. I couldn't this thing. Just now you were talking about that if there's a problem.
So this is a timeline. Okay.
Yeah.
And you are here.
Yes.
And a certain incident has taken place here. Okay. Now you are present. You are at the present here. So let's type it out over here.
Okay.
The present. Okay. And this is where that incident took place. Right. Now what you do is you go from here, you go here. The run up to the incident. And you start thinking and behaving the way that you thought that over here was not the way that you should have behaved, and you rectify this over here. Okay, so now this incident, now you've cleared it from your conscious awareness. You've removed it. And you've set another field over there. Right? Now, the thing is that this is how, again, I have shared this with you all before, that how the 4 S's I got to know about. Right. So now this is the way that we are going.
Right.
This is the way we are traveling, right?
Right.
Now at every point we'll come to a choice point where we have a choice. What is the choice that we are going to make? Right. Now, wherever I make a choice, I can go this way or I can go this way.
Right.
So if this is choice A,
yeah.
1 second. This is path A, and this is path B. right? I can go by path A, I can go by path B, right? Now this path that I am existing currently in may be path A,
Okay.
but path B also exists. So
Okay.
when I come, this is that incident, this is the choice point.
This is
Okay.
choice point, right?
This is the incident, this is the choice point where I made a
Right.
choice to do something which resulted in my coming into part A, into the path
Right.
A.
Oh, so
Now, if I go back here before the choice was made, and in my mind, I make the choice B.
E.
Now,
So
B becomes my reality.
Okay.
Now, B
Okay.
becomes my reality. So instead of having
Thank you.
guilt, clear it up here itself, make the different choice, which you think would have been the better choice. But in your mind, you need to totally eradicate the other thing. So you use the Ho'oponopono, for example, or use some other technique or whatever you want to clear and rehash this entire incident. So you replay the entire incident in your mind.
The way you would have liked it to happen.
Would have liked it. So the mistakes that you made, you rehash it. Now, if you go back to far journeys, okay, there was a chapter over there where he was in that expanded state, and the inspect was making him go through that incident over and over again. Remember, he did it and then it didn't work. So click, back to square one. Then again he did it. Then again click, back to square one. Till he got it right. Till he got what was the right way to handle that situation, he kept rehashing it. So like that, what are we doing over here? Because we are here and we've taken choice A. So this is our present point over here.
Okay.
This is this point, and this point is the same point. Right? Now we don't like the way that this is going. So I go back in time, I rehash it and I get onto this timeline. So what are we perceiving creates our reality. So if I change my perception, I change my reality.
And that will change the other person's reality also.
Naturally, because now I'm no longer in this timeline. Now, whatever is happening is happening in this timeline.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Bhaiya. Thank you. It's very
Mangla, you're on.
Then how you have to say Ho'oponopono, how you will change it? By saying what?
So you're
go and think and
go and clear it
that.
over there now. Go and clear it over
duster.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
This is used in shamanism also. That's how the shamans used to go back in time and heal the past, which would automatically heal the future. So actually, this was a secret process we learned at the FSS 3-year program.
Once a week, my husband and I make it a point to have a date day. On this day, he invited me to go see a movie with him. I was in agony and didn't feel much like going out. But I knew it wouldn't make any sense to say, no thanks, I'm really not up to it. I'm worried about the bears. Keeping my own clearing work to myself, I agreed to go out with him. We went to see the movie 16 Blocks with Bruce Willis. Little did I know then that the theme of this movie would be in complete alignment with what I was already experiencing. The highlighted message in the movie was people can change. All throughout the movie, I practiced Ho'oponopono. In one scene, I noticed a bus in the background, and the banner ad on the side of the bus showed a picture of a teddy bear, and the words beneath the bear read, "Send love." My previous training would reveal to me that this was a waking dream. My current teachings would say, keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track. Is this how the universe speaks to us? I'd like to think so. It was yet another reminder to me that the bear farmers didn't need my anger to change. They just needed my love. The bears needed my love. The world needs our love. Love changes people, and there are no exceptions to this rule. Sending love to a dangerous, ugly, or abusive situation is the only thing we can do if we are looking for drama free healing and everlasting change. It's not an easy thing to do, but herein forever lies the answer love.
So, so the point. So the point here is that she is saying send love, right? So love from a higher state of consciousness. If you are sending it with pity, then it won't work. It has to be sent with compassion, with actual love. Only then it will work. And then she says, is this how the universe speaks to us? So we saw this in Agora, the left hand of God. The universe is always speaking to us. We just have to pay attention. And as we pay attention, the universe starts to coordinate with us. It starts to work with us. That Shah Rukh Khan movie, that Kayanat bhi tumhare saath, tumhare liye sab cheez karegi, or whatever that dialogue was. I don't remember the exact words, but that is exactly what starts to happen. The universe starts to automatically work with you.
As my hypervigilance started to quiet down and the day faded into evening, the nausea, anxiety, guilt, pain, and grief that I was feeling earlier were finally starting to subside. Still, I continued to do Ho'oponopono my way throughout the remainder of the day until I fell asleep that night. Not too long thereafter, I was walking past the television one day and heard the newscaster announce a recent bear rescue. In my heart of hearts, I knew that this message was meant for me, that I was given confirmation of how we truly can make a difference in any part of the world, no matter where we live. And yes, when we are out eating popcorn and watching a movie. Thank you, Dr. Joe and Dr. Hewlin, and all those before you who have brought the message of Ho'oponopono into our lives so that we can awaken and carry the knowledge that we have the power to heal the world and make a difference. Our work here has only just begun. Please let us always remember, harm none, love everything, love everyone. Ho'oponopono travels across time. Suzanne Burns.
So again, so when Dr. Hewlin made that comment, when he saw that lady in the program, that all I see is starvation and I have a lot to clean, right? So the more we clear ourselves, the more we clean ourselves, the more we transcend whatever comes into our awareness, which is not serving us or serving the greater good, the more better the world becomes. So all of us must do our bit. If we just do our bit and everyone does their bit, the world will automatically become a beautiful place.
My lifelong search for an asthma cure was over. One mysterious evening, after over 50 years of asthma and allergies, this condition abruptly, magically halted. Dateline February 25, 2006. Earlier that day, while relaxing over an Austin Tex-Mex lunch, I felt a quickening in my being. Ooh, it felt very mysterious, like something was happening, and I was somehow being worked on. A wave of love overwhelmed me, and then I resumed lunch. That evening in the hotel meeting room, an electricity filled the air, an inexplicable pulsing of excitement. Dr. Hewlin, the speaker, ended up sitting at my table. Midway through the meal, I told an asthma experience I had, and he used that later to springboard into his talk. Well, I was familiar with the Hawaiian Huna spiritual healing model, but not the healing and forgiveness methodology and philosophy at the heart of the healing, which he explained at length. Dr. Hewlin told us he was working on clearing each of us in attendance at the dinner by reading our names and getting clarity and oneness with us. How he does it by expressing love for each person, asking for forgiveness for any wrongdoing consciously or unconsciously from the past or present of himself and his ancestors to us and our predecessors, all the way back to the beginning of time and microbic life forms. Wow, that's a lot to clear, so that he and we can all get back to true relationship in and of divinity.
So, so what's the idea? That clear everything that is a memory and start operating from the present with a clean sheet, right? Drop all that is the memory which we are carrying through our DNA, through our ancestral line. Drop everything and clear it to become clear, and then do whatever you want to do. And then she says over here, I felt a quickening in my being. And this is something that all of us at times experience, suddenly your hair will stand as if someone is near you. Somehow sometimes suddenly the area or the room becomes electrified. It gets charged. We need to pay attention to that. This is again something that he talked about in Agora, the left hand of God. When the universe is there, there's some kind of a healing is taking place. You can actually pay attention. This is something that even William Bullman speaks about in the OBE program, that pay attention to any energetic shifts, anything that is out of the ordinary. Pay attention to it. And then what you will find is that maybe a launch pad for you to go into a shift, into a different state of consciousness.
The next day unveiled the miracle at hand. I met my mentor from Joe Vitale's executive mentoring program and his wife for lunch. Being that I was from out of town and we never met in person, I had to walk quite a few blocks to the restaurant and realized I didn't need an inhaler at all during the trek. That was most unusual and the first clue. They remarked how far it was from where my car was parked, and I told them that perhaps I no longer had asthma and that it felt like it was so. Later that evening, I had the pleasure of dining with Dr. Hewlin, and we spoke of the healing of Ho'oponopono, and that now, having experienced its power in my life with asthma, I could go and help others with this problem. He also spoke of the importance of drinking water before each meal to flush out toxins and also to rid the home environment of clutter. Ahem.
So this is something that we've been talking about all the time, about the importance of drinking water. As I mentioned previously, that the 4 methods by which we gain power, that we gain energy, the first is food, the second is water, the third is breathing air, and the fourth is the light, right? We are more focused on the food, but the other 3 are actually more important. So yesterday also, Dr. Manik was really stressing of drinking water in your system, because that is the way that the body flushes out the toxins from the system. So if you're drinking less water, all sorts of issues start taking place. In our physical book reading, we had read Dr. Batman Gillige's book. That is another book that everyone should read. I don't know, maybe we'll take it up here also. to understand the importance of water in our life. Now, decluttering, I cannot, stress it more. One of the things whenever we go to do energy field rectification in any person's house, factory, or office, one of the things we always tell them is to declutter. If you are holding on to things that are not relevant anymore, they will always cause an energy drain. I've been to offices where they have 7 years calendars hanging on one on top of the other. Now, naturally, you're not going to use the previous calendar, but they are still hanging there. If you go to the office table of many people, under the glass, they have all sorts of things put under the glass. Now, that is energetically going to affect you. It's going to hit you. So the clearer you make your environment, the better off you will be. Now, this is true for your external environment as well as your internal environment. The more clutter you keep in your head, in your brain, the more difficult it will become for you to operate. So again, Ho'oponopono, what is it doing? It is asking you to move away from memory and into inspiration. So get rid of the clutter. Forget, actually to grow, we need to forget more than what we need to know more, right? Now, to know more, you make it a part of yourself and forget it so that it becomes natural, it becomes automatic. You are inspired to use a tool. You don't have to think and use a tool. So all the tools that we are learning in awareness also, they should all become a part of you so that you don't think and use it. The tool will automatically pop up in your consciousness whenever it is required to be used. That is the state that we want to go to. So from memory, we want to get into inspiration, which will ultimately lead into zero, because the more you get connected to inspiration, it is the pathway to get into zero. And that is the aim. Okay, zero, moksha, transition of this particular life system that we are in, to become all-knowing, to become self-realized. That is the goal of every culture at the end of the day.
Well, the best got better and better. It's been nearly 6 months since, and even though I got bronchitis, I bounced back without medicines. I never wheezed or needed an inhaler or asthma drug of any sort. Since then, I've been in homes with cats, dogs, and birds for hours at a time and had no wheezing or need for inhalers. My lungs are clear as a bell, and I can breathe deeply and fully, and this for the first time ever. Wow. Dr. Hewlin, though you don't call it a healing or yourself a healer, and would say that the universe and my soul did it, thank you, and thanks to Dr. Joe Vitale for sharing Dr. Hewlin and a night of healing magic. I am forever grateful. Martha Snee.
So again, once we come into zero, then automatically the healing starts to take place. It automatically happens.
The best got better and better. What a beautiful
Yeah.
sentence.
So naturally, right? So, and things will get better and better. We really don't know what's the end of better.
Yeah.
Because in our small mind, in our small conception, we really don't know what real bliss is, right? So when we experience a higher and a higher and a higher state of consciousness, the lower starts to drop off. Now, today, someone who's experience focused 27, for them 10 and 12 seem like normal, right?
Yeah.
For the person who's experiencing 10 and 12 for the first time, it's like, wow, this is nirvana, this is bliss.
True.
But when they go ahead, then they find that, there's something beyond that.
So much
So
beyond.
there is so much of more clarity that we need in our systems. It's not funny at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And here's one more. An Irishman finds aloha. 10 years ago, I began the study of myself through the use of Ho'oponopono I came into the understanding of this Hawaiian problem-solving process after years of study in Asian systems of healing, martial arts, and energy work. I had been through what could be called the ringer in terms of my search for what could be understood as enlightenment. And being Irish, I am always looking for the proof of the pudding, meaning seeing results versus smoke screens of words. Being raised in South Boston, Massachusetts, a tough as nails Irish working class neighborhood where the sounds of gunfire and police sirens were like inner city bird calls. Chances of discovering metaphysical understandings of the universe didn't often come up. So, upon finding an opportunity to attend a free lecture, I jumped at the chance to check out this Hawaiian understanding of life. What I found was very different. Many systems utilize and move energy like moving pieces on a chessboard. Ho'oponopono, however, awakened me to how to erase the negative elements that manifest as problematic situations inside myself, thus removing the chess pieces altogether. I was intrigued, to say the least. Many of the concepts at the time flew over my head, as all of the ideas were new to me. But at the end of the lecture, I figured I would give the 2 free tools that were given out as a gift a chance and began to use them as much as I could during the day and throughout my massage practice to see if the proof of the pudding was in the eating.
So, what is he saying over here? That most of the practices are just clearing, right? Here you are really removing the memory only. So now if you remove the memory, that thing cannot come back. But when you are just clearing and the person keeps following the same process that he has been following or she has been following previously, the issue will come back, right? So when I keep saying that hemisync is like jhadu marna, when you really engage these processes, they really clear you and take the thing out of you only and create shifts in you so that the processes that you're using, that itself shifts. So when the process shifts, now there is no going back to the old process if you don't have any memory of doing it in that way. So the whole concept of it shifts. Today I was doing a biofield tuning for someone. I will not take a name, but she has experienced a huge shift in her life. The way she reacted normally, now she is taken. There was an incident which took place, and her way of handling that situation was totally different from the way it happened previously. Right? Now, that is a big shift. Now, when we start paying attention to those shifts and start incorporating it into our system, then the old way of processing data, the old way of handling life totally drops off and we create a new ourselves. So we can actually create a new ourselves. So many of you will find that over the years, if you've been, engaging the various processes that we are talking about, you are a totally different person from what we actually started off from. I mean, I can see that in myself. I don't know about anyone else, but I know the way I would react or the way I would do certain things. I don't do that anymore, right? So the shifts are taking place. The more we clear ourselves, the better off we ultimately become.
In the past, I practiced Tuina, a form of Chinese medical massage, and over time, my viewpoint began to shift in terms of my understanding of treatments. Before doing the tools, I had a set understanding of what was wrong within a person based on the Asian traditions of energy and meridians. But as I used the tools, I noticed that my understanding of the how or why changed and that it did not correspond with my prior training, as I would be treating areas that had no correlation to the reported issues of the clients coming in. As I did so, the clients would report almost instant results for varied issues. Needless to say, I began to wrestle with my understandings and started to see a bigger picture of this Hawaiian art form begin to unfold. The next spring, I attended a full training and began to truly apply the methods and practices.
So, so over here, what is he saying here? That when your viewpoint shifts, you're working at a higher state of consciousness, the way you are observing something and the correlations that you make, that something may be paining here, but the actual pain is here. And that is what Dr. Manik also was talking about yesterday, that you were having a pain in the back, but where was it actually originating from? Where was it actually coming from? What was the cause? If you can go to the cause, only then you can sort out the problem. Otherwise, you're basically looking at dealing with the symptom. So again, that same structure comes in. You have a disease. The disease creates a disease. The disease creates a symptom. So the idea is not to deal with the symptom. The idea is to deal with the cause which comes before you get into a disease also. So this is what he's talking about. He could actually go and deal with the cause rather than the symptom.
One day, I received a call from a former client, whom I will call J, a practicing psychologist. She asked me to see a patient of hers whom she was very concerned about. I will call her F, who had a clinical diagnosis of bipolar disorder, attempted suicide numerous times, and was committed on a few occasions for her own safety. I said to J, "What did I ever do to you?" She laughed and said, "I know you can help her. You have to. If you don't, she won't make it." So I agreed. At the end of the call, Jay also said that F was once attacked by a massage therapist. I asked myself, what am I going to do to help this woman? When I went home that evening, I sat for a while and wondered what I could do. How could I effect change on this level? After some introspection, Ho'oponopono kept playing in my mind like a broken record. So I began to use the tools as I had never had before. I put marathon efforts into each session before, during, and well after, never telling F anything about my secret. During our meetings, the treatment room was full of humor, and the air had a sense of thick peace to it as I cleaned. To make a long story short, F had a complete turnaround and is now a productive woman able to handle life as it comes. She is walking proof that if we take 100% responsibility, situations can indeed shift.
So now, what is he saying? How could I effect a change on this level? After some introspection, Ho'oponopono kept playing in my mind like a broken record player. So this is what I'm saying, that we have our toolbox. We must program our toolbox that the tool that is required in a particular given situation simply pops out and we use it. So instead of thinking about what you're going to use, that tool should automatically pop out and boom, you use it. This is exactly what happened to this person. And naturally, it created a huge shift in this lady that she or he was working with.
My massage practice also has shifted and has moved ahead, and I rarely touch anyone anymore. Currently, I find myself driving through life, hitting speed bumps now and then, amazed at where the cleaning will bring me next. Has it been simple? No, but I truly value all the situations that have come up and made me realize who I am. After many years as a volunteer for the foundation of I, Inc., Freedom of the Cosmos, my viewpoint is simple. There will always be stuff coming up in one form or another, be it family issues, stress, opinions, or war. And in the beginning, it was hard to accept that fact. Now, instead of saying, why me, inducing a guilt response, rather I say, I am responsible without guilt and simply let go through the usage of the tools and let God take over. It's a tough job to do. Did I say tough? But I have faith that a smoothness is occurring and that we just can't grasp the totality of it. Because there are so many realities that coexist in the same time frame as ours. We should not waste time with the how, why, or when, rather, just the do.
So this is important over here. He says that we must not waste time in the how and why and when, rather just do, right? So you learn a technique, you start using it. And as soon as you start using it, you find it works. Now you simply make it your own. Yes, an understanding of what is happening is always helpful. According to me, it's very important. But if you start attempting to understand too much before you do it, then at times you lose the essence of what the practice is all about. Okay. Now, what I find is that the more we clear ourselves, the more everything around us also clears. Okay.
By doing so, we get out of the way of ourselves. As soon as we step outside of ourselves at all, in any manner, to blame, react, moan, groan, and so on, we lose sight of the issue at hand, namely our chance to let go of the problem that is inside of us. If we blame, we become disconnected, like not paying our cable bill. Zap, no HBO.
So again, the blame game, justifying our actions. Okay. All this stuff automatically puts us on the left side of the grid. So now anything that puts you on the left side of the grid, it simply does not work. So most of the time, what we simply need to do is get out of our own way. The small guy, this ego, is what creates all the issues that we are facing. We need to step out and let divinity do its work through us. The moment we start doing that, the shifts will automatically start taking place.
The choice for us is to not get all self righteous nor depressed, but simply to continue on without judgment against the most precious gift, the self. If I slip up in the cleaning, I get up, brush myself off, and begin anew. One more chance to see the proof of the pudding. Thank you, Brian Collins.
So if you don't do something, if you don't act, you don't take action, you can never make a mistake, right? And most of the time we learn most from the mistakes that we make. So the idea is to make a mistake, learn from the mistake, get up and do it again. It's as simple as that. And the more persistent you are, the more dedicated you are to doing something, the easier and more ingrained in your life system it becomes. And if you do it enough, you're automatically going to become a master at it. And then you can make it your ikigai. The idea is to find and make and use whatever you're doing in life, operating from the feeling of ikigai, right? Becoming centered, doing what you're loving doing. The world, it's something that the world needs. You are good at it. And of course, from the commercial angle, in the sense that you need to live, you need finance, so you can be paid for it. Okay, we've got only 6 or 7 minutes left. I think let's stop here. Today we can just chat for the next 5, 7 or 8 minutes instead of starting a new chapter.